Yeah, a little Hey Teddy. Oh. Time for us to say Hey Teddy as in Ted Kiefat of RailsTV. Puck drop at 2 o'clock in Proctor. Proctor versus Rochester Lourdes. The 1-0 Proctor Rails, 1-0 in a big way. 9 goals last night. Here to talk some RailsTV and some Rails hockey is Ted Kiefat. Hey, Teddy, good morning.
Morning, boys. How are we doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Can't complain. Hockey 2 days in a row. Get this first 2 games under the belt and then hit a road for a 6-game stretch and see what they can do.
I was going to say, we joke about back-to-backs not being a big deal for high school kids, and it's probably not. But what about for your crew? Because RailsTV means big-time production times 2.
Yeah, actually, it's nice having back-to-back with the production, last night and then today, because we really get to leave everything set up and just laid out, and all the kids got to do is, instead of having a 2-hour call time, they get an hour call time, so they get to sleep a little later, as high school kids would like to do, and just come in and turn things on and get ready to go.
Brian, for people that are just jumping on the show for the first time or have only listened for a little bit, we talk about RailsTV every so often during football season.
Right.
But we talk about it a lot in the hockey season. The thing is that Ted and his group take 10th graders and 11th graders who kind of think they'd like to do stuff like this, and he gives them real-world experience, and there is nothing more valuable to a kid than real-world experience in a controlled environment, and Ted does that as good as anybody.
No question about it, and he even has them working with us. If they can survive that, they can survive anything, right, Ted?
100%. We just got to make sure we can keep your audio levels right this time.
Yeah, no echoes this time. Everybody loves my calls, supposedly, but we don't need to hear them twice, that's for sure. But speaking of hearing things more than maybe twice, we heard the goal horn and the goal calls 9 times last night. We thought Proctor was going to be very blessed defensively in between the pipes. Sounds like there's offense there as well.
Yeah, you got a real good crew of sophomores that are coming up that are helping out Coach Lasby and being able to really turn the puck up the ice. It was a different game last night, though, with the team that came calling in Wadena Deer Creek. They're short bench, so it was easy for those groups to get in there, get their feet wet, get that first high school game underneath them.
That's always helpful. We always talk about people on the mic, and with RailsTV, there's opportunities for kids to do that. But I want to talk about who was on the public address mic last night, because I cheated a little bit. I tuned into the live stream with Tim Roweeder on the call last night just to learn the Rails a little bit before taking over today. And I happened to be watching during one of Ethan Carter's goals, one of the 9 last night. And I'm pretty sure I heard the goal call be told Easy E. Carter, and that sure sounded like Dave Riles. Am I right?
You are 100% right. Yeah, Fleisch had other duties, who normally is our voice of the Rails, and he was out. And so Riles was here last night and again this afternoon doing his thing, helping out the program.
So talking about Riles, that family's got an imprint in Proctor Athletics, and AJ will be a big part of what this team does this season. But from what we're told, not yet.
Yeah, he's dealing with that knee injury that he sustained this summer. And last I heard, they were hoping to miss the first 5 games of the season. I don't know if that's really what the paperwork says or not, but that's the last thing I was told. So, hopefully we'll get through these first 5, the 2 here at home, 3 on the road with Greenway and Hibbing and others, and hopefully be none the worse for wear and be able to get a bounce back, get in between the pipes.
You know who else is hoping for that, Brian?
John Carlson.
Lindenwood University, because they got crushed last night.
I think we're both right.
They could use a goaltender, and they just signed a goaltender this past week.
I was going to say, how does that feel to have a Rail go in Division I? That's big for this program.
Yeah, it's big. Being able to have AJ represent us, especially this early in the year at the beginning instead of later, and letting everybody know, and kind of puts a good light on what we have going on here and in Lasby's 4th year, and just going to be a fun team to watch, because it's not just going to be between the pipes that we're going to be strong. We've got some great defensive leadership with Anila and Johnson, Oakstead, and NM and Pavlovich. And then, we got a couple younger goalies that'll have to step up and do their part. But these sophomores are going to be fun to watch. Watching Tanner Ross and Brecken Ross last night, and just knowing, the brothers and how much they've played together.
I forgot they got them both now.
Yeah, and this sophomore crew, you can just tell how much time they've spent on the ice. The passes were some of these no looks and things like that. Just knowing that somebody was going to be there, be in the right place, right time. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch Rails hockey this year.
I had a chance to talk to Brecken the other day, and that young man, he is a hockey guy. The idea where he is focused on the sport was kind of fun to visit with him.
Yeah, he's got one heck of for his age, he's got one heck of a hockey IQ. Used to play defense, really needed somebody to step up to that wing position this year. And talking with Coach Lasby last night's game, and he said it's cool because you can really play him anywhere just because of that hockey IQ that he brings to the ice and that ability to be that, almost like that young leader out on the ice and to help those younger kids along.
So, Ted, you talked about upcoming trips to Hibbing and Greenway, and those are big section games. Talk about Section 7A this year because let's call it what it is. It's been the Hermantown Invitational for the past however many years. That could be different this year. A lot of good teams.
Yeah, across the board in the section, that a lot of good stuff. I mean, Hermantown always going to be a powerhouse. Actually, was talking with Lasby this morning about the new academy, if you will, on the other end of town, and what that's going to look like in the next couple of years. And the cool part is that the kids that are here that are seeing this program grow and seeing their programs grow in the other teams in the section, they're starting to stay home a little bit more than instead of going off and going to the Marshalls and the other places. And you're seeing that strength and that continuity staying, and it really shows on the ice in these coming into these couple of years, especially after COVID. That strength as everybody is really into those systems and being able to follow it from that youth program on up.
No doubt about that. So, Ted, let's talk a little bit more about Rails TV because that is, for lack of a better phrase, your baby. And we always talk about the game day experiences because Dave and I get to be part of them. How do kids get involved in this? Because it's not just showing up to games. There's classroom work involved. Being part of Rails TV, It kind of never stops. You're a big part of it from beginning to end.
Yeah, it started, we're in our 8th year, 6 years as an actual class, 2 years as a club. It's a 2-semester class where, not only do they have to do X amount of broadcasts for grades, but they make films and movies and commercials, and they're really getting to see all the aspects from camera, audio, editing, going out and actually scouting a location site to film at, things like that. And they're really getting that real-world experience, especially in a market where we have all the major market networks, plus we are an absolute film hub in the Midwest for doing films here and on the Iron Range. And so they're getting to take those skills that they're being able to do in the classroom and actually be able to go use them in our area working for different companies and getting to see, hey, is this something I really want to do?
And now the strikes are over, and so there's going to be more and more film opportunities in northeastern Minnesota. So the kids are going to be, even more in demand. But here's the thing, Brian. We talk sports, right? Because that's our thing. The kids from Rails TV.
It's not just sports.
No, they're covering
school board
city
meetings.
Council. Yeah. They're covering school boards. They're doing, so they're not just so focused. So kids who are interested in the field, they're getting an opportunity to do this in so many different situations.
That is extremely vital. Ted, I hope it's okay to have a little bit of an off-script kind of on-air production meeting. But speaking of school board, I believe you got some approval to potentially do some traveling with this Rails TV group. Obviously, there's fundraising perhaps that needs to be done about it. Are you at liberty to talk about what's potentially lying ahead for this group?
Yeah, 100%. We started. Thank you for bringing that up, Brian.
Absolutely.
We started with a group called STN, the Student Television Network, about a year ago. And they hold what they call a working convention every year, where this year it's out in Long Beach, California, and the kids get to go out and work with industry professionals, and it's 5 days of convention with breakouts and stuff like you'd normally have, but the bigger side of it is it's that working piece, and there's actually contests every day where they get depending on whether it's news, film, commercial, whatever they choose to do, they change it over and they get a prompt dropped on them every day, and they actually have like 6 hours to put together their final product and submit it to the judges. And we're taking our first group out there this year. We got permission to do so, and we're doing a lot of fundraising. Right now, we just put out a Proctor's clothing store. We're doing a thing called Snap Raise, the old-fashioned email type deal where if you want to donate.
Nice.
We're going to have a pancake breakfast coming up. We got all kinds of things in the hoppers because, there are some kids who can afford to go. It's going to be about $1,900 a kid. And there's kids who can afford it, and then there's kids who can't. And we never want to, especially, with this CTE and this real world piece, we never want to tell a kid they can't because maybe we got the next Coppola or Spielberg on our hands, and we got to make sure that they have those avenues to explore that.
I'm glad you made that analogy because I was going to put you on the spot because we know in athletics, we just talked about AJ Riles will soon be a Division I goaltender, and that'll be a pride point for Proctor for a while. And we love to talk about, well, this kid grew up here and made it here in the world of sports. What about in Rails TV? Maybe you're a little bit young right now to be able to really answer that, young as a group, I mean. But do you have somebody that came through Rails TV that is now doing X that you're like, hey, we helped mold that?
Yeah, I'd have to go back to Sam Larson. He graduated a few years ago. He's at the University of St. Thomas down in the cities, and he was one of our first kids as when we were a club that really kind of helped us launch what Rails TV is today. And he is down there. There's a private school down in St. Paul that he's doing all their play-by-play and stuff for hockey down there. He started that, I want to say, last year. And so it's cool to see those kids and current kids right now, students like a Ray Pazak and Spencer Maida. He's going to be one to really watch. He's a young kid, sophomore, but he is into it, and he really knows what he's got going on, and he's going to be fun to watch as well in the future to see where these tools take a career for him.
Absolutely. That is excellent. Speaking of these tools and being able to get them, obtain them through Rails TV is the plus that I just never seem to get past because Dave and I talk about this all the time. Where was this when we were growing up, wanting to get behind a mic someday? Ted, you've done more than enough of your share. Do you ever think about that? Where was this in high school? We all did it in college to be able to do it now, but where was this at that age?
Yeah, 100%. When we start talking about editing and stuff in class, I show them my old film editor cutter that I still have,
right.
And we were taping and film together. And when they start complaining about how hard it is to do the editing on the computer, but I sit back and we had that kind of stuff in high school. But yeah, that on the mic stuff, that ability to get outside of yourself and find that comfort zone for what we get to do now. You, Dave, myself, and others. I would love to see that continue to get bigger in the area, and if not all schools go towards it, because I can't believe there's not more schools in the Duluth surrounding area that have students that want to get on a mic and want to be the next Dave Cook. Let's find a way to do a magnet program or something like that where they can come over here, kind of like ESCO used to do with us for our welding and things like that, and so that they can be part of that. I would love to see that magnet program feel like Minneapolis has, where if a kid wants to go somewhere, they can go do that because that's what they want to do for a career instead of being limited to what's in their building.
I agree with you because wanting to be the next Dave Cook is a wonderful goal, but if you start them in high school, they might be the next Dave Cook that actually knows how to pronounce other names.
So I did the paper or the paper in high school, Ted, and the co-editor. I was co-editor with another one, and she used to say stuff like that. If you could spell, if you knew people's names,
so maybe that's
so good
where your
this.
Mispronunciations come from. Maybe you wrote them down wrong. So that's really to quote Goodwill Hunting. That's not your fault.
Ted, give me 10 minutes.
Maybe you didn't know how to do phonetics.
Well, no, actually, that's the problem, Ted. I learned in phonetics. I can't spell a dang thing. Give me 10 minutes before the show. I got something for you before the broadcast.
Okay.
All right, so that would be definition of on-air production meeting. That was one of those interview questions I didn't see coming. But give Dave 10 minutes before Puck Drop today. Puck Drop is at 2 Rochester Lourdes, traveling to Proctor. Proctor on a back-to-back, but coming off a big victory, 9-0 over Wadena Deer Creek. And again, we'll have it for you on the fan. I guess since we're doing on-air production meetings, are we simulcasting with you folks today? Or are you doing your own?
No, you'll be simulcasting. That's one of the great partnerships that we have with the Northland Fan, and is that you guys, whether football and other things, especially football and hockey, you come in and you're able to do that. So no, it's nice to have that. So we'll be live at railstv.net if you want to listen and hear. Sorry if I'm not supposed to put that plug out there, but it'll be fun. We always love having you guys come to the building. You definitely. You don't take away from what Row Eater does for us, but you definitely add some other pieces, and it's always nice to have that change up.
Well, we love doing it because, again, when it comes to meccas, venues in the area to watch hockey, I know that the St. Luke's Sports, I'm going to botch the name, and I never do that.
An event center.
I would have been fine. I would have guessed right. I didn't want to guess. But the St. Luke's Sports and Event Center is young. It's a baby in terms of the buildings in the area, but it might be the best venue for high school hockey.
Yeah, at 5 years of age, it's holding its own, and both teams that call the St. Luke's Sports Event Center home are doing upgrades all the time with they're showing off their alumni and their current programs and their records and this and that. So it's really cool to we had the Wilderness here playing for a month. They chose our rink to play in when Cloquet was getting their new deal, the new plant put in. So. Just a great venue in my opinion. Really not a bad seat in the house with the double-sided plus the track on both ends where you can stand and watch the attacking zones
or get your steps in and still watch a hockey game. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, get those steps in. I think it's 7.5 laps to a mile. Get those steps in while you're watching the game.
Can you imagine how breathy my play-by-play would be if I tried that? They're in the zone. I'm done.
I already do that. I wander around when we talk all the time. I probably put a mile in.
The problem is there's a cord on the headset.
There is.
He goes Big Fat Greek Wedding on and his head gets whipped back. Ted, my last question might be a pardon the ignorance question, but with the classwork with Rails TV, the different semester with the new year, are kids who aren't involved yet able to get involved, or is it once you register, it's the full year?
No, actually, we'll take anybody who wants to be part of it. Actually, we have a sixth grader. We've had many sixth graders in the past. One of them are seniors now, and he's coming over to help see what the broadcast is about today. And anybody that wants to be part of it can come be part of it. We're always looking for people to run cameras, do audio, or be on a mic.
We love that. We're all aboard the love train that is Rails TV because we love Ted Kiefat. Ted, thank you, sir. We'll see you this afternoon.
Thank you, boys. Have a great afternoon.
Absolutely. You as well. We'll be spending our afternoon in Proctor, 2 o'clock puck drop. The Rails hosting Rochester Lourdes. When we come back, the playoff field, how it looks right now in the NFL. Will it stay that way? We'll tell you what we think. Stick around. We'll be right back. We're glad you asked. I'm Brian Prudhomme. He's Dave Cook.
You are you?
Yes, I'm something like that. I couldn't even say my own name. That's the kind of day it's been. I hope the hockey game goes a little better for me. I'll have the play-by-play. Dave Cook and John Carlson will help me out. Sounds like I might need a lot today, but Proctor and Rochester Lourdes, 2 o'clock puck drop. But a little who are you? Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. We are the Northland Sports Page, which is nothing without our great sponsors.
Absolutely. Let's start with our newest, Mike Regan from Christensen Group Insurance. Arola Architecture Studio, the OG. Hoops Brewing. We had Dave on just a little bit ago. He's got a fantastic, Brian, gift card special that's going on.
If you get a $100 gift card, you get a $25 bonus card for each 100 that you purchase. If you go 50, $10 bonus card. So, again, I'm in love with Dave Cook's resourceful shopping idea.
Yeah.
You buy the gift card, you keep the bonus card for yourself.
Buy one, keep one.
Cousin Eddie would tell you it's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer. OAR Holdings. Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing. Sammy's Pizza. The Blackwoods Group. Their locations include Tavern on the Hill, Blackwater right here downtown, Two Harbors location, Proctor's location, and London Road, and they have a gift card special as well, Brian.
I was going to say, do it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. For every 50, their bonus card is 20. And don't forget with their gift cards, you can do it online. You can walk into any of the locations and do it in person. Maybe the best part of their gift cards is they have that plethora of locations. Each gift card is good at all of them.
Right. And, Brian, if you order, you can get it delivered to your place for $6. That's, to me, that might be the best deal in town. Is buy something from a Blackwoods place, get it delivered to you for
You don't have to threaten me with that good time ever.
Avenue 45, Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Pier B Resort, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai, and Comfort Systems. And I got a little feedback going on from Comfort Systems.
I was going to say, you've been wondering aloud if Comfort Systems was at your residence today while we're on the air here, and the answer's a resounding yes.
Absolutely. So here was the question I sent to Dana. I said, Comfort Systems there yet? Here's the answer. He arrived and he listened to the show. He wondered if you were the same Dave Cook and then heard you were waiting for comfort systems. And so, yes, I am that guy. So I asked if he fixed it, and she said he is trying many things, which, Brian, is exactly what you want somebody to come and do. If they don't know the answer, to have them try a few things and figure it out on a Saturday morning, you have to join Comfort Systems for this kind of service.
Absolutely. Customer Service 101, and I'll tell you this, I am very happy for you based on that story, because
you heard it.
It's very likely that your furnace will be fixed, but it's also likely that you now have a story to tell people, because most of the stories that you share about this show are places you go and you like to tease me, that somebody says, oh yeah, you're the other guy. Not for Comfort Systems, you're the guy.
I'm the guy today anyway. I might be the other guy tomorrow, but today I'm the guy. And I bet, you know what? I'll bet you every customer that they work with feels like the guy when they're there.
There you go. Because when the heat is on, Dave Cook is my Glenn Fry. He's the guy for Comfort Systems without question.
Joe Walsh, who showed up every so often.
Yeah, something like that. But you're here today. You know, after the 2-week hiatus, you've now got 2 in a row. So you're back on track.
I'm 500 for the last 4.
Speaking of 500, is that going to be good enough to make the NFL playoffs? Now, the easy answer is no, because there's 17 games. You can't go 500. Well, this is our last show before December, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Next Saturday is December the 2nd. Every NFL team wants to be in meaningful games, unless you're blowing everybody out in the standings in December. The playoff picture, I don't know what to make of it, because in some ways it's weird. In other ways, I look at who would be in if the playoffs started today. They don't. But you go, that's probably set.
Yeah, no, I think it's weird because you've got 3 or 4 teams, maybe less than that in the AFC, 2 or 3 teams who are locks, right? They're in. And then you have and it's the way the NFL works so well. You've got so many teams
the way the NFL wants it to work.
Within one game of 500 that, you know, each week there's another 3 wild card teams.
Well, and the other thing is, let's be honest, we've got 2 South divisions where somebody has to win it.
Yes, that is
true. The
NFC
South isn't great. Now, Houston's been better than expected. We all thought Jacksonville would win it blindfolded. But the South, in both conferences, they have to take 1. Maybe the AFC gets 2.
Yeah, you know where they're really going to be good, Brian, is at the top of the draft. The South is, you know, we've talked about things that we're excited about and disappointed about. The Southern divisions of both sides, you have to be, you know, completely disappointed with if you are an NFL executive to start with. But
it depends.
A fan.
Did you get C.J. Stroud or did you get Bryce Young? Because one fan base is lamenting the pick and one is worshiping already.
Or what about, you know, Trevor Lawrence? Dave's been stuck between C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence all season long because they're both the same guy, which says Trevor Lawrence has regressed a little bit.
Right. So let's take a look at the playoffs as they stand right now. And these are order of seed. We'll start in the AFC. If the season was over today, newsflash, it isn't, you'd have Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Jacksonville. Those are your division winners. Your wild card teams in the AFC would be Cleveland, Houston, and Pittsburgh in the file how did that happen department for each of those 3 for me. Then over in the NFC, it's Philadelphia, and then you've got Detroit because they Detroited all over Thanksgiving, and they actually got passed via tiebreaker by San Francisco, to be honest. The Saints would be 4th because somebody's got to win that division. And then in the wild card department, you've got the Cowboys, the Vikings, and the Seahawks. Now, both conferences have teams somewhat lurking. Green Bay now lurking in the NFC. In the AFC, you've got teams that I think we thought were locks that are suddenly lurking in the Bengals and the Bills. What happens in this playoff picture?
Well, I don't think anybody wants to play Dallas. How about that? We'll just start with that. Because what we've seen from Dallas is that their offense is okay, but their defense is stupid good. And so I think that nobody wants to play Dallas. I think that's the first thing we can take out of this.
Right.
The second thing we can, I think the second thing we can really take out of this is the fact that San Francisco might be the other team nobody wants to play. When they're healthy, that team is really good. And I'm going to say it, and I got burned last year with it. I'm going to say it again. I don't think Philadelphia is as good as their record is.
Well, it depends. If they injure the quarterback, that's an elite defense.
They're done. Right. If their quarterback gets injured, they're done. Their defense is
How
that
matter
good.
of fact is that? Because this year we've had so many teams lose QB1. Some have survived, some have not. Philadelphia hasn't had to find out. You have to think that if they did, they would be absolutely cooked. Because how difficult shouldn't it be, but how difficult is short yardage situations. Now, whether you want to call it the tush push or the brotherly shove or the no pass ass, as I like to call it, where Philadelphia is picking up 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 without trying because Jalen Hurts is who he is. I don't know if it's systematic and that team can do it and other teams can't, but other teams have tried and failed. Now, I want to know again, is it Philly or is it Jalen Hurts? Because QB2 for Philadelphia would not be anywhere near the same.
Well, think about that as a
Does anybody even know who it is?
No. Think about how that is, though, for the league. Starters in the league aren't terrible, but, who's got a good backup? If Baltimore loses...
The Vikings knew they didn't because they had to go get one.
Right. If Baltimore loses Lamar, they're toast, right?
Although, the minute you say that, they had Huntley in the Pro Bowl and Huntley in the playoffs last year.
They have a unique offense that they have to have a specific kind of quarterback, as does Philly, right? And frankly, as does Minnesota. They have to have a guy who can put the ball where it needs to be, and Josh Dobbs has been a good story with his legs, but he hasn't yet been a guy who can put the ball where it needs to be, and so we're going to see yet with that team. But the Jets are a great example. They thought they had a backup quarterback. They do not.
Well, the problem is they wasted a number 1 pick on a backup quarterback.
Right, who is not. He's in trouble. His career's in trouble.
So anybody on the outside looking in that you think gets in, because the Buffalo Bills are probably the most enigmatic team in football this year, because on paper, either this team is really good and underachieving, or we made too much of it on paper to begin with.
I don't think in the AFC. I think that the Bills are in, so I don't see them as lurking.
But statistically right now, they're not.
But
so who falls out? Does C.J. Stroud fall off? Because I don't expect Mike Tomlin's team on paper is terrible, but I don't expect Mike Tomlin's team to fall off.
But I think that's a 500 football team. I don't think they're going to be below that because Tomlin doesn't have that in him. But I think that Buffalo.
Well, they've got the Browning-led Bengals on their schedule twice. That's a factor too.
How about that? You want to talk about disappointments? There you go with that.
You want to talk about if Lamar gets hurt, how screwed Baltimore would be? Maybe not, because take a look at the AFC North quarterback situation. Deshaun Watson out, Joe Burrow out. You look at those teams. Kenny Pickett isn't out; he's just bad.
Well, Kenny Pickett was saddled with an offense that just isn't any good.
Right.
That was that's a question I'm going to have for Vencie later. But I think that Cleveland's defense is so good, right? The Jets' defense is at that same level, but that's the difference between okay quarterback play and horrendous quarterback play. I don't think Houston's going away. I don't think they're going away. I don't either. In fact, Jacksonville might be the team that's in trouble, even though they're 7-3. They got Houston coming up yet. Their schedule is simple, but so is Houston's.
Well, and I think what you wonder is, you just talked about it with what Detroit had happened to them on Thanksgiving. Now, granted, San Francisco is amazing, so I'm not going to say San Francisco provided the blueprint to beating Jacksonville. San Francisco is just good. But what if there was something in there that other teams go, defensively, you just need to do that, and they can't function?
Well, and again, Trevor Lawrence has been okay, but he's not supposed to be okay. He's supposed to be an upper echelon. And another team that is shockingly bad is New England. Now, when you look at them now and you see all the dysfunction on the offense, it's not surprising. But at the beginning of the year, nobody picked New England to go 2-8 right now?
Right.
Nobody.
And it's almost non-competitive.
Correct.
In fact, the only thing that frustrates me with the Patriots is I was in a loser pool, and you were too, and Topher Davis was too, that Mount Royal Bottle Shop helped us get into. And you're supposed to pick, instead of the winner each week, you're supposed to pick one team that you think is a lock to lose. Well, I picked New England when they were floundering. Guess who won one of their 2 games the week I chose them?
Did you? So I think the worst pass this entire year is the Mac Jones pass from about the 8 into the end zone.
Where he underthrew the defender who had to pick it off. That was the game in Europe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he threw a 4-yard pass on an 8-yard route, and it looked like that was the best he could do. And so Mac Jones, I remember 2 years ago when Vikings fans were lamenting the fact we didn't draft Mac Jones.
That era should be over.
We maybe missed a bullet there.
Absolutely. But speaking of the NFC and the Vikings, does anybody on the outside looking in get in? Because I'll tell you this, I'm afraid that if they do, it could be at the expense of the Vikings. But at the same time, maybe the Vikings are in a decent spot. Now, you've got to beat the Bears at home on Monday night. There's no excuse not to. I don't care how much better they are with Justin Fields available. But I didn't know about the Seahawks' upcoming schedule until Dave Sinekin ran through it because, of course, his whole life is determined by how Green Bay does.
Goodness gracious.
But Green Bay or the Rams could sneak in because Seattle, yes, looks primed to lose their next 3 games.
I think, again, we said we were going to start a new fad, and it's called the Geno Smith line. It's when the player jumps out of their skin 1 year and becomes the quarterback they were before, and everybody thinks that they've failed when, no, they had one really good year. It's not that they're bad. They are the guy they were before that really good year. So the fact Geno is playing Geno ball isn't terribly surprising. I look at the standings, and I honestly don't see any team that's going to jump up. I would love to say the Redskins, but I watched them on Thursday.
Well, you shouldn't say that. You should say the Commanders.
Oh, yes, the Commanders. See, they have the Commanders uniforms. I really like the Commanders uniforms, right? But the Washington football team is talented enough that we're looking at a pretty weak conference, right? But the Cowboys embarrassed them on national TV.
But you went right by Baker and the boys. No hope for them?
I don't like their makeup. I like Baker, you know that, but I don't like Tampa Bay's makeup. They are in the easiest conference in the NFL.
I was going to say, you know who has the easiest path that's on the outside looking in is either them or Atlanta, because the Saints, to me, I picked them at the beginning of the year, are the best team in a bad division. But it's not by as much as I hoped. And I know you're a Jameis guy. I'm not. I don't know what Derek Carr's health is really going to be like. Derek Carr isn't exactly the epitome of consistency anyway. But do either of those two teams get that 4 spot that they shouldn't get because they win a division?
If you're picking one of them, it could certainly be.
You sure it's not Atlanta going back to Ritter?
I am 100% sure it's not. Ritter is in a situation where his offensive coordinator isn't helping him and he's failing him, actually. But could Baker pull it off? That's kind of Baker's MO. Put him in a spot where he can do something. Cleveland found out when he was able to do something when he was a kid. And so could Tampa do something? Sure, but you're right. I like Jameis more than you do because all of a sudden his receivers are catching footballs.
So you said in the AFC you think the Bills are in. As of right now, they're not. So who disappears? You either got to get rid of Pittsburgh, Houston, or Cleveland.
Well, Cleveland's in. Pittsburgh, to me, is... Mike Tomlin.
They're doing it with smoke and mirrors, but that smoke and mirrors is named Mike Tomlin. He's done it for years.
Correct. I don't think they're going to disappear, but I don't think 500 is going to get him in. I think they'll be 8-7, or what is it, 9-7, or however many football games we have now.
Right.
Now, I think they're a 9-8 football team because I don't think they're going to be under 500. But I think Buffalo is going to be considerably better than that. So,
well, here's why I disagree. Here's Buffalo's upcoming schedule. They play the Eagles tomorrow, probably an L. In Philly.
Do you think?
In Philly, yes. They are on a bye after that. Hope they get healthy as can be because you got to prepare for this. At the Chiefs. At home against Dallas. You just said nobody wants to play them. At the Chargers, they probably win. Versus the Patriots, that's probably a bye. Then they close at the Dolphins. Maybe they get lucky and the Dolphins don't need it.
I think they beat Philly. I really do. But you're right. I didn't realize they had Dallas left on the schedule. That doesn't help.
Right.
And then Miami is just a track meet. You remember we said that Jefferson we love. There's only one wide receiver in the NFL that nobody can cover.
Tyreek. And
he plays for Baltimore. Where did that come from? He plays for Miami.
He does. That part is correct.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't touch at all because we'll let Vencie do a lot of it. We just kind of brushed aside the Vikings. Are we actually in the camp that, they're going to make the playoffs?
No. I'm very hopeful, and if their defense continues to play, they will. But, JJ's coming back. That's got to help, too.
December is going to tell us a lot. Of course, they got to win their final game in November, Monday night at home, against a very, very poor Bears team.
A beatable team.
That has given the Vikings a lot of trouble over the years. How much trouble is in store for us Monday? Vencie Glenn tells us. Stick around. One more segment. We'll be right back. We can go where we want to as well. Where we want to go is Proctor this afternoon. 2 o'clock puck drop, the Rails and Rochester Lourdes. It'll be myself, Brian Prudhomme, and Dave Cook and John Carlson alongside me as well.
Yeah, the JV is going off in about 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Final segment of the Northland Sports Page. We'll bring our varsity to this one. It's one of our favorites. Mr. Vencie Glenn is with us. Vencie, good morning, sir. How we doing?
I'm good, pal. How you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well. I was a little bit nervous with the Bears on the schedule, no matter how good or bad they might be. What do you expect to see Monday night? The stadium will be rocking, but Justin Fields is a different wrinkle.
The Bears are learning how to win.
Right.
They're kind of finding their identity right now. And the Vikings are trying to find their identity. You know, different quarterback, a lot of injuries. different players, and now it's the end of the season, and this is where everybody has to come together. It's going to be a good divisional game. Who's going to win? I don't know. That's a good call.
I was going to say, I know you don't do scores, so for 1 week at least I won't ask. I know your favorite Viking Bear, Metrodome memory with Todd Scott, I assume, in the Jim Harbaugh audible that got him in a lot of trouble. But I wanted to ask you something about last week's game, because last week planted that seed of doubt for Vikings fans because everything had been turning up roses with Josh Dobbs and company. Last Sunday night didn't. But the one thing that beat him was something you can't teach. The secondary got beat because they're too short. How do you make up for height on a jump ball like that?
Get some taller corners.
That's just it.
Fact.
I mean, the coverage wasn't terrible, but he's 5'10". What do you do? Yeah.
Man, it's football, man. It's just football. It's a game of inches. A first down is a game of inches. Getting across the goal line. So they'll tell you football is a game of inches. And it's just one of those situations where you got to be alert to what's actually, to me, if you ask me, I don't think it was a very smart throw.
I didn't either, yet it turns out to be the game winner.
I just thought that both the DBs were just not playing the ball. And if you watch Russell Wilson, he'll tell you where he's throwing every time. He'll tell you. 90% of the quarterbacks in the NFL will tell you where they're going with the ball. It's just how they play, especially Russell Wilson. And not to have that kind of jump on a ball that's kind of floated to the back corner of the end zone to give you an opportunity to make a play on it. Just got to make a better play next time. That's all.
I agree. That was disappointing. I want to talk about another play, the start of the game versus the end. So the interesting 3rd and short call where Josh Dobbs takes a pitch from TJ Hawkinson. Dobbs fumbles, takes a spear basically from the helmet, and Kareem Jackson gets suspended, but there was no flag on the play. Now, you and I have talked repeatedly about how the game has changed and the physicality is different. As a former safety, does that suspension bother you, or is it just, hey, the game is different, that's just how it is?
Jackson has a history of doing things you're not supposed to do.
He sure does.
So, I'll give him an X on that, because that's not smart football. But at the same time, it's just football is a bam play. And if you're an aggressive defensive player, which you're supposed to be in the NFL, it can get you in bad situations because these guys use the offensive rules to their advantage. Like a quarterback will wait to the very last second to slide, and you already made your decision. You're going to tackle him, and then you'll get a 15-yarder, and they know that. And then the next time you sit there and kind of hesitate, he runs you over, jumps over you, and does something. So now you're trying to guess when this guy's going to play possum and when he's not. So the rules have definitely changed the game. I think there's a lot of, as Tom Brady said, there's a lot of mediocrity in football that people don't talk about.
Correct. You have forever, though.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's the NFL and it's fan ball. And they make the rules according to how the fans can see their guys on the field. Let's think about this, guys, real quick. If you had the old rules in today's game, none of these guys would be playing.
Right. No, I think that's a valid point.
A lot of these quarterbacks would have been out week 2.
Yeah.
Man, you have guys like Lawrence Taylor, Bruce Smith, all kind of guys coming at you, busting you up every play, even when you throw the ball and get rid of it. These guys, so it's an advantage to offenses now, and you just got to know how to take advantage of those situations. But getting back to the Dobbs play where he fumbled and the pitching with TJ, they never ran those kind of plays.
No doubt.
Cousins, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now you're getting all creative and cute because you think you're on the roll and you got a mobile quarterback and you can just do all this fancy stuff. When it's just get back to basic football. Get 3 yards on first down. Get 4 yards and then let's go play.
I agree with you because I was so hung up on what a dumb call that I forgot about the tackle should have been a penalty, as many people were upset about. Vencie kind of reminded me of when we talked to Bert Blyleven about baseball, and he says, all the advantage. The NFL is going the same way.
Well, I'm going to say, I hopefully say something that'll make Vencie laugh. How in the world would these quarterbacks and wide receivers play against Lester Hayes? Right? Lester would, the old Oakland cornerback would cause significant issues with offenses today, huh?
they will probably be writing letters to the Supreme Court to see if we can get the rules changed. I'm telling you, it's just a different game. These receivers complain now. Can you imagine if you had Lester Hayes, Mike Haynes, and guys like that just all over you all the time, man, and just didn't let you breathe? And you can't get open. Now you're frustrated. And these guys, they want calls. They want to be able to just run up and down the field and catch 100 and some balls. But then when they get beat up and hurt and things, now they want to take 4 or 5 games to come back, or I'll come back when I'm ready. Or when I can play against somebody.
Absolutely.
No doubt. No doubt. We talk about Kareem Jackson. Steve Atwater wouldn't be able to keep a job the way he hit. Ronnie Lott would be non-existent.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, and Vencie Glenn would have been in trouble too.
There
Yes,
you go.
he would've.
There you go. God love him.
So, Vencie, you were talking about quarterback play and how Brady said it's mediocre. As a defensive player, as a safety, at what point did you start to think, okay, I got to worry about this quarterback because he seems to be getting it? Like the young kid from Carolina or the kid from Chicago or Ritter in Atlanta. I mean, these guys don't seem to be taking steps. At what point in the defensive room are you saying, all right, so this kid's finally getting it? How do you measure that?
I judge people by their football IQ. I don't look at athletic ability.
Okay.
I look at their IQ. You know, their pre-snap read. Can a quarterback, does he make his decisions before, or does he try to wait till the plays develop? And a lot of these quarterbacks, they just don't understand pre-snap read. The reason why Tom Brady got the ball out in 2.3 seconds, because he knew what the defense was going to do. He knew what defense they were in. He knew where he wanted to go the ball. These guys wait till the play starts into development to get rid of the ball. Kirk Cousins too. And that's why a lot of them that hold the ball or can't get rid of it in 3 seconds, they start running around, they get sacked, the offense doesn't move fluently because offenses are a tiny thing. Defense is there to disrupt your timing on routes and stuff. And so as the defensive schematics and you understand where they're going with the ball, you disrupt that. Now they're in trouble. And these quarterbacks are not as smart. Yeah, they might can throw the ball, but if you don't understand defenses and these great defensive coordinators in the league that's been around for 30, 35, 40 years, then you're going to be in trouble and you're going to struggle.
That's what Brian Flores, for the most part, has been doing to teams recently. The Vikings defensively have improved by leaps and bounds. Probably deserved better last Sunday at Denver. They allowed 1 touchdown and happened to win the game. I know you wanted to talk specifically about Brian Flores.
I did. Vencie, this is the one that I've been waiting for. All right, so Brian Flores, I think what I've heard, in other places and read, it sounds like the Wilfs are willing to pay Flores whatever it takes to keep him. But here's a question for you. There's a lot of mediocre teams that are going to need new head coaches. Is there a situation where a coordinator in a good spot making good money would ever turn down the opportunity to be a head coach, regardless of the team?
No, he's going to take that job.
Yeah.
That's on the resume. That's what you want to be as a head coach. You want to start as a coordinator, position coach, or a stats guy, and work your way up to being. Here's the reason why a lot of these teams aren't winning when they got a lot of these young coaches in the NFL. They can't lead men. If you can't relate to young guys, if you can't relate to guys that come from adverse and different backgrounds as you and know how to motivate 60 guys and then 20 coaches and 15 front office staff, you're not going to be successful. They have all these young coaches coming out here, Staley and all these guys, and they're 34, 35 years old, and these dudes are 28, 29, and they're looking at them like, your locker room speech doesn't motivate me.
Right.
You don't make me motivated to come to practice and work hard. You're a nice guy. You're good. You might know offense. You might know defense. But can you motivate 60 grown men? And all of them with different egos and personalities and testosterone issues. And that's the big thing. And that's why you see teams like Detroit Lions are starting to come up.
Tomlin.
Houston Texans. They got young coaches, Tomlin. They got coaches that know how to relate and deal with these players as young men and as men.
Vencie, you are the best. I will tell you this. You just motivated us. I'd play for you. I'd run through a wall for you 25. We appreciate it. Let's do it again next week.
You got it, guys. You be safe and have a great day.
Thanks,
You as
Vencie.
well. That's our guy, Vencie Glenn. Talk about thankful. Is incredibly thankful for him.
Absolutely. And we talk about this all the time, motivating people. Vencie's spot on. Great coaches motivate.
Absolutely. Great show. Thank you, Dave Cook. Thank you, Dave Hoops. Thank you, Ted Kiefat. Thank you, Vencie Glenn. Everybody was a blast. Have a good weekend. Go support small businesses. Small Business Saturday. We'll talk to you high school hockey in just a couple hours. See you.